Alright, we got Rakkety Tam by Brian Jacks, chapter 31, with the big tree and the waterfall. Gulu the Savage and his 29 vermin arrived at the broad stream too late. Tam and the hares had gone with Gusham, sailing 2 hours or more downstream. The Wolverine sat upon the bank, worried after his ordeal in the pines and the subsequent race to catch up with his foes. He knew his warriors were exhausted too. Gulu, however, would permit no signs of fatigue, neither his own nor of those of his vermin. Watching foes and ermine flopping down sorely in need of rest, the tyrant scorned them harshly. Ah, even as a babe I could fight all day and run beasts like you into the ground. Rest then, drink the waters and cool your paws, for 'twill be woe unto the beast who lags behind when we gets going. He called Isai, the inner tracker, to his side. Our enemies do not travel without purpose, methinks. Whither would they be bound on this water? Ursay shrugged. Who knows, Lord? He squeaked with pain, and the wolverine's claw pierced the lobe of his ear. Gulu dragged him forward until they were face to face. His voice brooked no argument. Thou art a tracker of me and me scout. Who would know better than thee? Now use thy brains before I spill them unto this bank, fool. Tell me, where were they bound? With a face screwed in one side, Asai gasped out an explanation based on what he had learned of the territory thus far. Unless the water mice have been some secret hiding place downstream, it's likely they're going north again, mighty one. If this water does not go straight to the red stone fortress, it must pass by it some place that is but a short march from water. That is where they will go, my lord. Kula released him and sat pensively, licking the blood from his claw. Well said. Redwall Place would be wise refuge for my brother and his creatures. Si, this centaur that Askar was not one of those who were tracking, but he's prepared to doubt Gudo's suspicion. Aye, 'twas be as they say, sir. Rakkety Tam took watch at the stern of Log-a-Log, Tumi's big logboat. Gazing back upstream, Skipper joined him. No sign of him following it yet, mate. Tam eyed the point and the bend they had just negotiated. No, Skip, but if he can rest, assured they'll be on a trail soon enough. But we've got the advantage. We're afloat on a pretty fast current and they don't have boats. This is the way to travel, huh? The otter chieftain nodded. Aye, Tam, is so 'tis. Those vermin will have paws run off for themselves trying to follow the bankside. Would you do with it sailing a bit slower than if we want to keep them on our tails? The shout from Tugi and the bow interrupted him. Hold there, backwater, Gusham. Shoot your head. Tam, a shout from Tugi. Tam grinned warily. Well, that slows us down if anything does. Let's go see this tree. The other Gusham craft had pulled into the bank of the shallows aboard the big boat. Shoes backwatered engineerically with their long paddles fighting the swift current. A massive old willow had collapsed across the stream, blocking it completely. Hilling about it until it was broadside on the big longboat, slowed down, coming to rest against the willow trunk with a gentle bump amidships. The Gusham chieftain turned to the skipper and sighed irritably. Well, this was a nice little mess we ran into. What's to be done? A young Shu called from the shallows. Looks like we'll have to well portage the boats, chief. Log-a-log Tugi items effectively. Porridge, you say? 10 tribes of badgers couldn't lift this craft of mine to carry it over this old monster. Lance, Jack, Wildberry leaned against the portage willing trunk. Well, what's the dickens do you suggest, sir? Tui laughed humorously. I do know, sir. You got any bright ideas yourself? Corporal Wapsity emerged from under the awning where he had been assisting the Gusham cooks. Bloomin' great log, ain't it, chaps? Can't go under it? Bally well over it, what? Charlie glared at him. Is that all the help you can offer, matey? Whoop shoved down flour from his paws, grinning from ear to ear. Oh, sorry, sir. They're looking for suggestions. Well, how's an old fulcrum and lever work for your what? The one called Five Shoe clapped the hares back soundly. That's it. Fulcrum and lever. You could shift anything that way. Shoes like nothing better than a good argument, and Gusham crew were no exception. One shrewmate after another exchanged comments viciously. Frickin' and lever rubbish, there's no moving that thing. Oh, who asked you? Give me a flickin' lever and I'll move it. And who is in your army will never find the lever long enough to lift that trunk. Don't you worry, Toggle. Aye, Big Bob. Gob, I'll twaddle you if you comes over there. I'll tell you how to do it. Oh, you will you? Go on, clever clogs. See easy when you two smaller logboats, one for the fulcrum and the other for the lever. Ain't that right, Shrew? Oh, aye, but why do you lever one end? You have to go and move the other end, too. Move the other end? Why is that? Well, don't you know nothing? Thicktail's not a log lying straight in the water. Get washed downstream out of our way, that's why. Soon every beast was shouting, then clenched paws raised and snouts butted together treacherously. Log-a-log truly broke up the argument, bellowing, Rifto, get your boat over there. That'll be the fulcrum. Stream Bob, your craft is the lever. Use both of your crews to do it. Rest of you start shoving with paddles and the root end of that trunk. Come on, Gusham, and let that old heaven go on. The shrews leaped into action. The log murmured to Tam, see that? That's the way to solve a problem, Gusham fashion, by democratic and sensible debate. Skipper scuffed a chuckle, whispering to the borderer, it looked so democratic and sensible there for a moment I thought they were all going to knock one another out flat. All the shrews went about the business of moving the fallen tree. Tam, the skipper, and the hares back up by the bank to watch the four signs of Gilo, his vermin pursuing them as they moved cautiously along, using the trees close to the water as cover. Tam shook his ears in vexation. Listen to those shrew beasts and sing their heads off. The vermin are sure to hear if they're in the area. Skipper took more philosophical view. Well, it ain't as if the old Gulu don't know where up this way, mate. The Grishams are only singing to help the job get done. Corporal Brody worked his nose. I'd say catchy little tune, isn't it? What? Tam set his jaw, trying to ignore the heaving song. Shove and push, heave and ho, bend your backs, each mother's son, lean down, ho, one and all. 'Tis the only way to get job gets done. Shove and push, heave and ho, do your best, 'tis all I ask. Lean down, ho, one and all, get your paws into the task. Shove and push, heave and ho, cushion don't ye slacken about. Leaving down hall, one and all, bringing near about, dragging out. Since young Issei in the best sight of the sharpest ears of the vermin, Gushu had dispatched him to scout ahead. The Wolverine was still wary, but reluctant to give up the rest. In high bad temper, he followed up the rear's command as a threat to anyone who would dare to stop or drop out. After the long endurous march along the stream bank, squelching through mud and sliding over wet rocks, Rishu came hurrying back to report. Lord, I hear singing ahead. Gulu called his band to a halt. One looked for him, warned to be silent. He strode several paces ahead where the rest stood, bringing Isra along with him. Singing where? I hear no singing. Isra could hear it. He knew better than to contradict the Wolverine. Cupping a paw around one ear, Gulu continued his interrogation. No, I cannot hear it. What was that singing about? The ermine do could do was to explain and suffer the consequences. Mighty one, I could hear the words, but my ears are keen. I hear the sound of swearing. He answered, and letting approve of Gulo's mood. The wyvern's paw shut out, buffeting Issei so heavily with both of his ears that the force knocked him out. Gulu stood over him, snarling, "Now I'll wager your ears are singing aloud, idiot. We are wasting time here. Get up and fetch the others." Moving the willow trunk by fulcrum, the lever was not as easy as the shears had figured. The bare size of the huge ancient tree was a daunting sight. Long, thick limbs, branches, boughs, twigs, foliage covered the fallen Gunnan's crown, a mass of twists and tangled roots, some half as thick as the actual trunk, formed the base, protruding in all directions above and below the waters of the broad stream. The Gushim laid one of their logboats on the sideways to the top of the trunk. The second, lifted clear of the water, was placed across the middle of the first craft, midships, forming a type of a seesaw. At the rooted end of the willow, shrews crowded the shallows, some ready to push, while others attached ropes at the other side, ready to pull. The principle of the scheme was to move the tree until it floated in the water, paralleling to both banks, enabling the entire thing to drift off downstream, clearing a navigable waterway. But the theory and practice were strange bedfellows to the argument of Gushim. Lagalog Tugi stood on the century of the mighty trunk, roaring orders with his shoes squabbled and disputed fiercely. "Take the strain on those ropes, Gushim, right now. Dip far below the bow, top of the boat, under the tree. Put in head," I said, "for we're to end, not the stern." "Ahoy, chief. When we pull up these ropes, we might drag the tree over the top of us." "No, you won't, Duntel. You pull and shove. You'll just pull and we'll shove." "Huh, that's easy for you to say, Rugmer. You're on the safe side," Turgay said in a dance of rage. "Shut up, all of you. Ready now. Push, shove." Within moments, the crossfire of shrew comets began anew. "Wow, the bottom boat sinking." "Well, get off her, brain, and you're supposed to be in it." "But help, I'm swinging in the air, hanging on to the stern of this boat here." Tiggy ran up and down the trunk like a mad beast. "Ye bottle-nosed, beetle brains. Lean 'em up in the stern there and strain out those ropes. Get off those bottoms and push the rope in. Move, push, pull. More of you down to stream to get the weight into it. Heave." Gulo and Isham crept forward, the rest of the vermin behind them. The distant squabbling and roaring of orders reached Gulo's ears. Just as he halted, preparing to speak, one of the white foxes whispered to him, "Lord, there's 4 beasts yonder, see?" Drew back, and the elm was a glimpse of the lanky figure of a hare dead ahead, no more than half a stone's throw. He spotted more hares, a squirrel and an otter, coming slowly along the stream bank. Gesturing in a semicircle movement toward the woodlands, the wolverine gave murmured orders. "Scouts, huh? We'll get around the back of them and cut them off from the water mice in their boats. Follow me quietly if you want fresh meat." Drawing their weapons, the ermine and foxes stole off to the left, following Gulu in a long arch. Skipper shouldered his lance. Turning away from the upper stream bank, he addressed him. "No sign of the vermin, mate. They must be limping along after that scrap we had with the blackbirds." Tam put up his sword. "Aye, let's get back to the Gushim. Perhaps we can lean a paw and shift that tree." As the company turned, an arrow whipped out, catching Skipper through the side. The big otter, Corporal Wapscott, who had been bringing up the rear, yelled, "Ambush! It's the vermin!" 2 hares went down, felled by arrows and a spear. Then Gulu dashed out in the dead of the vermin, roaring, "Gulo, Gulo, kill, kill, kill!" Completely taken by surprise, Tam called the patrol hares. "Into the water! Get downstream!" Axes, arrows, and spears pelted at them. Tam grabbed Skipper, hauling him into the water, thrusting him out into the current. "Get back to the Gushim, quick!" Rushing back ashore, he drew Sword of Martin, After striking down a fox with about the speared lance Jack Wilbury, Tam hurled himself at the advancing vermin, still yelling for the hares to get to the stream. They would stand a chance of being saved by the swift current. 5 hares were down, but the rest broke free, retreating into the broad stream. Corporal Buddy Whipson was harassed in the front and the left by vermin. Tam had run no more than a few paces in the direction of his belligerent comrade before he was stopped in his tracks by Gula the Savage, who suddenly bounded him. The border warrior slashed out blindly with his sword. Gulu screeched as the blade lopped off his right ear. Blood was flowing freely from the wound as the wolverine clapped a paw to it. Tam ran by him, finally reaching the besieged Buddy, who was gallantly holding off the main charge with his long rapier. Together, 2 warriors fought side by side, their backs to the stream, shifting in advancement of the verdant. Through vastly outnumbered, Tam and Buddy, each with his blade slashing like a windmill on a gale, fought so fiercely that the foe could not overcome them. Cooler was screaming in the background, urging his vermin, "Kill, kill, charge and bring them down." Ashen face and tight jawed, Buddy muttered to Tam as they battled on. "Into the water, friend, save yourself." Tam's blade thrust at the leering face. "Not while you're at my side, mate. We'll go in together." The hare came and caught Tam's eye as he repelled an axe swing. "We'll be slain in the shallows. There's too many of the scum. I order you to go now, sir." Tam fainted in spear thrust. "Not without you, Corporal." Buddy almost stumbled up, but recovered himself. "Gulu got me in the back on the fangs and claws. You must go before he gets you." "Go, Tam, I'm already dead, beast." The border warrior chanced a quick glimpse over his friend's shoulder. He gasped in horror at the long ripping wounds. Buddy's blood now mingled with the water in the shallows. "Matey, come with me. We'll make it together." Buddy shook his head resolutely. "No, sir, my strength's run out. I've only got moments. Go while I still have the strength to cover your back, friend. If you got a chance another day, then slay Gulu for me." "What?" Without waiting for an answer, the hare charged straightway in press of the vermin, roaring with his last war cry, "Oodalay!" Tam turned and dived into the current. He was caught in the downstream swirl and whipped away. Water filled his mouth and nostrils as he vowed silently to fulfill the task that the hare had put upon him. Fortunately, Rakkety Tam was out of sight before his friend was slain. He had not died easily. Pierced by a forest of weaponry, and gallantly hare broke his rapier blade in two and flung it at the enemy. He had no time for another war cry because his teeth were set in the throat of a screaming ermine. Thus died Corporal Buddy Wapscump of the Long Patrol, a fighter to the bitter end. Log Togi and his shoes finally moved the fallen tree, but not as planned. Several Grisham were lost, crushed beneath the heavy rooted beast as it shifted back on them. The tree did not move free in one go. The top half plunged, and then the pressure of the forging levered. The basin remained put. Then, aided by the current, the willow swept side over the water. The single mighty rush, instead of landing midstream, the tree had positioned against the far bank, rolling backward through the shallows and killing the trees who had been pushing at the rooted end. The haulers had been forced to wait for their lives without the benefit of the ropes which had been swept under the water, but now lay tangled beneath the trunk. The waterway, however, had been cleared. Under Toon's frantic orders, the crew righted the longboats and brought them into the bank. Before they had even time to recover the bodies of their dead comrades, Skipper came wallowing downstream, gasping, "Lend us paws, mate, and make ready to sail." Once the otter had been put out of the water by the long Grecian rowing poles, it was clear that somehow he had been injured. Log Tuggy inquired as he slapped the bank mud out of the wound to the otter chieftain's side. "What happened, Skip?" The otter spat out a jet of water. "Ambushed by the vermin. No time for chit-chat, mate. Here comes the others. Pull them out and get under way. You best put a move on, Tuggy. Gulu, the vermin are on our tails." Groups of long patrol hares and hauled from the racketing current into the logboats. Blood-curdling yells of Gulu's band could be heard drawing close as the hares were pulled. abroad, and the small flotilla of logboats shot into the midstream. Skipper grabbed a shrew. "It's Tam, see, there he is. Pass him and oar quickly." Exhausted, the water scroll was trying to keep his head above the surface as he was rushed downstream. Behind him, the vermin were running along the bank, shooting arrows at him. Tam never let go of the long Martin's sword and splashed in the stream ahead of him. It was the last ounce of strength. He swung the blade, bending it in the paddle of the hanging on the tight of the sword with both paws. The Gushim crew heaved him in the board just in time. The banks had become rocky, rising higher, funneling in already faster water into the roaring, boiling tunnel. Grushim's ushers vanished from view as the boat swept away on the wild torrent. Every bush threw themselves flat as to the decks of the longboats, which were well out of control as they hurled through the chain of rapids. High water crested masses of water shot by madly as the longboats bumped against one another and scrapped over protruding rocks. The returning archers found Gulu the Savage sitting on the fallen willow at the bankside, sawing pishfuls and make bud. And bleeding, Urson pointed mighty one escaped the downstream that flowed fast in the bank's rock, recreated speed of the craft lord. Gulu was off the trunk and the bank. My brother Asgar did not sight them. Asari wisely backed out of the range. "Nice, sir." Gulu's eyes gleaming madly, seeming to ignore the scout. Hiding in the boats they'll be. But never fear, I'll get them. You there, all of you. We all have our own craft. Use your spears, roll this tree before them. They reach the Redwall place, 'cause those ropes will make a haste. Issei wanted to tell Gulu about the rapids, but he held his silence. There was no talking to Wolverine in his present mood. Within moments, the huge willow trunk crashing downstream, and the vermin climbed to it for their lives, oblivious to the blood in the stream by the wounded ear. Gulu stood upright, filled with exhilaration at his first taste of riding rough waters. An insane light shone in Gulu the Savage's glittering eyes, and he kicked the nearest vermin, shutting them above the current. "Paddle, use those spears, paddle, fast, fast."